everyone, welcome to the penultimate video in this mushroom series from Johanna Basford, Small Victories. It's a bit sad coming to an end, but I've got a fun idea for these. But I hope it's going to be fun. I am looking forward to it, and I hope you enjoy it too. Now, having looked at some pictures of mushrooms and what colours they are for ideas, obviously it doesn't really matter, but I saw quite a few that were a sort of salmon colour, so not quite orange, not quite pink, somewhere in between. Now Polychromos doesn't really have a colour like that, but I thought I would try and make one. I thought it might just be interesting. It might be a complete disaster, but we'll see what happens. And if you don't want to have a go, that's fine. You can obviously do your own thing, but I thought it might just be a little bit different. So we're going to start with a pale colour. Trying to grab this one. This one is a really dirty pencil. Look, it's had a sticker on it and it's made it dirty. This is what is called on here light flesh. They have now changed the name to I think it's beige red, and we're going to start with this. It's we do have left my pencil sharpener next door. Ugh. So we're just going to start with this anyway and put a layer down. Now there is, in these fleshy tones, there is a sort of salmon, as they call it, but for me it's not the colour that I'm looking for. So I want to add a bit of orange, and I really don't know if it's going to work, but it's going to end up looking some sort of colour anyway. We'll see what happens. So here is this sort of light beginning. Now I am thinking I'm going to grab the cadmium orange and add in a layer of light layer of orange next. And it's probably going to end up looking really orangey, but that's okay. We're going to keep layering up until I feel like it's the right colour. I think we need more pinks after this. But I'm just... Now with Polychromos, you do have to layer up to and you basically look through all the layers and that gives you the colour. You don't smush them up like you do with some other pencils. This is called medium flesh. It's actually the coral. With some sets of pencils, you tend to move the colour around and actually physically mix up, but these, it doesn't work like that. So you have to, as I say, layer them up, and then you look through the layers at the colour. They're the harder pencils. Harder pencils work in this way, and the softer pencils, like your Prismas, work slightly differently. Okay, it's coming. I'm getting there. I am going to add, whoops, burnt ochre, once actually fairly evenly on top. I think we might take us to orangey brown, but we're getting there. I feel like I've got the depth of colour now. It needs to be slightly pinker, so I'm going to use this. This is the dark flesh, which is also known as the salmon, but for me, although it is an orangey pink, it's not orangey enough. So together with these other colours underneath, I feel we get a better look. There we go. I'm going to try and add a little bit of shape now. There we go. I've got to think of what colour to use for that. Yeah, this might work. Might not show up enough. I'm going to have to go and get my pencil sharpener. Hang on a minute. Right, I just emptied it because there's no bin in here. There's no room in here for a bin. There's so much stuff. Right, so I'm going to try the pompeian red and see if that will work. What I want to do is put a little bit in on the edge, in here, you know, where it's, Johanna's drawn it as if there's a little dip. And actually this does look quite red rather than shadowy, but I think it might work. I'll keep persevering with it and then see what it looks like. Oh, my stomach is rumbling. Feels like it needs a bit of chocolate inside it. No. Excuse me, I think a brown is going to be a little bit better than that. In fact, I'm going to grab my dark sepia and just go over these where I think there'd be a bit of a shadow in there. There we go. And I'm actually going to use this for the stem, but just a light application. Got a flower stem there as well. Now I'm thinking there'd be a little bit of shadow near the tops, and then here, look where they overlap. I'm just going to put a little bit in there. There we go. Now our flowers, I'm thinking we can do a similar tone but much more vibrant. So I am going to start with the pompeian red actually. It's a really pretty colour, I think. And start our flowers with that. I'm going to try to fade towards the end of each petal. It's going to be a little bit tricky. My son is so funny. He's complaining that they're digging up the path near his uni. Now what he normally does is he crosses the road on a crossing, and then he's on the correct side for uni, and he can enter through a little footpath into the car park and get into the building quickly. At the moment they're digging up the footpath, so he can't walk on the uni side of the road, so he has to walk on the other side past the uni, and then it takes him time to cross the road because where he has to cross is much busier than normal, where he normally crosses. Then he has to sort of walk past the building he has to go into a different entrance and then go back on himself, so it takes him 5 to 10 minutes longer just because they're digging up the path. And so he's saying he's going to have to start getting in an earlier train on some days just to make sure he gets there on time, because what he normally does is there are 2 first thing in the morning trains, and he usually gets the slightly later one, but if it's running late he can't get it because it's real fine timings, you know, to get him in. So he's saying he's now got to get the early one while they're doing this work, and it's really annoying. But tomorrow he has to get an early one anyway normally, because his teacher is so strict that she won't let them in to the room. Well, she doesn't lock the door, but she tells them they have to leave. If they come in too late, she says, no, you're too late, you have to leave. He doesn't want to do that, obviously. I think it's a bit strict. This is burnt carmine. She says if you've missed this much of the lesson, there's no way you'll be able to catch up. I feel that that's rather unfair, and if they're late through no fault of their own, they should be allowed to sit in the room and just try their best, you know. But that's her way. So he says, oh, if I'm late I will just sit there and she won't be able to force me out of the room because she can't manhandle me, which is fair enough. But on the other hand, he's sort of a bit all talk because he wouldn't want to do that. He would find that very embarrassing. This is hooker's green, you know. And I'm going to use this for the petals. So yes, he wants to try and avoid that anyway. Now these flower stems are very thin. Now we haven't done this on any of the others, but you could draw them in. We did that in on one page, and I wasn't sure if I liked it or not. I'm still can't quite decide. I'm not going to do it now because I haven't done it on any of the others. I feel that is something you would have to do, like these strings as well. You'd have to do it consistently through. I'm going to make the grass this colour. You know, you'd have to do it consistently through so that it didn't look odd. But it's up to you really. I noticed what Chris Cheng does, I've said this before, is she colours over that and leaves a slightly white gap the other side, and then does for her, so she does her background up to and including the line, and then leaves a tiny white line the other side, which she then fills in the colour of her stem. So then she can get away with colouring it in a slightly different way. So obviously if you want it really pale, which you wouldn't for this, trying to get it over that black line would be quite tricky. Okay, it's time for some white pen work. I think everything needs a little bit, well, not everything. I've got my jelly roll. Firstly, the centres of all the flowers. I'm going to go around the edge of that central bit as best I can. It's quite small. I'm not going to put one in the middle. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm not going to today. You can if you see fit. And here we have some marks on each side of here in black, and I'm going to change them to white because why not? So there, I think we are done. So yes, it was a very interesting experiment getting this colour. I did get to where I wanted to be eventually, but you can see it took me quite a few layers and experimentation, and sometimes, you know, you might not want to do that on your actual page. So if you wanted to try and make a certain colour, it might be better to use your colour palette test page at the back and fiddle around before you try it on your actual picture. It depends on how much confidence you have. I knew that we would eventually get a colour even if it wasn't exactly what I wanted, so I wasn't too worried. But you know, you might want to, as I say, if it's really important to get the correct colour, then you know, and try it out elsewhere first. But we've got one more left tomorrow, so have a little think about that one. I've got an idea, but I might change my mind before then, so I'm not going to share it. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. Please do like, subscribe and comment if you can. It's very much appreciated. Yeah, have a super day and happy colouring.